if you're watching this video, you probably already booked a consultation with us for business funding, so we can help you get that 0% interest business funding to start, grow, or scale your business. Or maybe you just stumbled across this video and you're looking to work with someone for business funding. In this video, I'm going to show you how business funding should work when you're working with the funding company so that y'all feel good. We're going to talk about that money. We're going to talk about maximizing the money, you know? So let's get straight into it. So things that you want to be aware of, you want to ask, like, does the company work with bank relationship managers? When you come to us, when you hop on a consultation, if you ask us, do we work with bank relationship managers? Obvious answer is yes. When you work with a bank relationship manager, if you don't know, it's basically like having an inside into the bank. You know someone that works in the bank essentially. I have people by name that I call, like literally my phone, that I email. You know, that's how I'm able to help my clients maximize their business funding. So if you're working with the funding company, you need to be aware of this because they're just applying online. You can get funding that way, but you're going to maximize your funding when you work with people that have that bank relationship managers. By the way, today's video is sponsored by, not so sponsored by, Creed Cologne, the gold joint. You know what I'm saying? Make sure y'all smell good, make sure y'all operate good, and then you'll feel good, right? Get your funding, go get you some cologne. Now, but does the process seem just transactional? Do you feel like you're heard? Do you feel like you're seen? These are things you need to be aware of as well when you're working with a funding company. Do they just look at it like, okay, we just do 10%, that's it. We're going to get you the funding, that's it. Do they sit and talk with you about what your goal is? You know, you got to understand, like, do you feel seen? So these are things I want y'all to be aware of. So you could be aware of these red flags as you're having consultations with these companies, because there's a lot of companies out here. There's a lot of funding companies that do, you know, funding for people, 0% interest, this, that, and the third. But you got to be aware of what's actually going on and having best experience. Does the funding company have a mission? What's their why? Why are they doing what they're doing? 99% of these funding companies do not have a mission statement, do not have a mission. So it's just, it goes back to what I said about being transactional. When you come to us at CAT, our mission is to help fund $1 billion to small business owners. Every transaction that we do with you updating your business, growing your business, scaling your business, starting your business, that capital that we get you is helping us with a greater purpose, right? So just kind of ask these questions and make sure that they actually have a mission statement. Because if they're just doing it randomly just to make money and that's it, like we're here to make money, but if they just doing it just for the money, like you got to be aware that that's a red flag because you got to have a mission. You don't have a real company if you don't have a mission statement, right? Do they have a track record about educating about funding? Right? We have a funding playlist here on my YouTube channel, right? You can literally go to my channel, go to funding. I'm talking about different banks that you can get with funding as far as doing it yourself, and then obviously working with us as well. Do they have a track record about educating about liquidating credit cards? I literally have a playlist on my channel called Manufacturer Spending. Over 100 videos teaching you how to liquidate your credit cards and, you know, get reward points, you know, things like that. So you can go ahead and check that out. And then this is just a note for y'all. Do not be emotional and let past scams dictate your next blessing. Because your next blessing might be that funding company that you're going to work with, maybe us. And, you know, that's going to be your blessing. So don't let like, oh, I got scammed in the past, you know, deter you from your blessing. All right, what exactly is business funding? Because you might just be stumbling across my videos and, you know, maybe you don't know what it is. So it's an umbrella term for different types of money that you can get to start, grow, or scale your business. So these are some of the different types that you can get. So business credit cards is very popular, 0% intro APR. And if you don't know what that means, that basically means like if you liquidate an entire card, you're basically going to be in a situation where you're only paying 1% on the minimum, right? So 1% would be like $250 on a $25,000 card. Business loan. So an example of a business loan is the SBA loan. So we actually have an SBA plug. I did a video with her on my channel. I'll probably have someone on my team just put it right there on the screen. You can go ahead and watch that. It's in the funding playlist as well. So that's low-key a red flag too. If the funding company can only do business credit cards, if they don't have relationships with, you know, different types of funding, like how do you distinguish yourself? Do they have an SBA person? Every SBA loan is different. So that's why SBA is important to in terms of, you know, doing your research in terms of who you work with. Because as y'all will see in that video, that I did with my SBA lady. She's had people that came to her and they got denied SBA from other, lenders. So these are things you want to be aware of. Like, what kind of relationships does this funding company I'm working with have, right? So keep that in mind. Business line of credit too. We have the No Docs program, that's very popular as well. So just as far as the education aspect for anybody that may be new and is not aware, you a busy small business owner. Maybe you don't know about all these terms, so keep that in mind. All right, how do you get business funding? So there's a couple ways of how you do it. So you got two options, two main options. You can basically use your personal credit as a PG, personal guarantor, or you could build your business credit score and get EIN only funding. So with building a business credit, you got to get through the net 30s, buying all these vendor accounts and things like that, go in different tiers. The way that I teach, the way that I prefer to do it is focusing on option one. Option one is we use our personal credit as a personal guarantor, PG, personal guarantor. We're basically saying that I'm going to back my business and my personal credit is this super strong 700 plus FICO that's going to be able to get, the funding for the business. And it's low key a red flag if you're only looking for business funding as far as EIN only, because it's like, why are you so afraid to use your personal credit? Do you not plan on paying the money back? So just keep that in mind. So as far as the way that we teach, you want to obviously have a bulletproof personal credit profile. So what does this consist of? 700 plus FICO score. 680 is a minimum. We don't do minimum. Minimum is for people that just want minimum funding. We don't want minimum. We want to maximize everything, right? The way that we articulate everything that we do here is big funding. When I say small business, I'm only saying small business for the sake of conversation. It's big business. You watching this, you have a big business, right? You got to articulate yourself with confidence. This is why we're able to go ahead and get the maximal funding that we can get, right? We maximize the funding. So debt utilization rate under 30%. So if you got over 30%, I would try to figure out a way to decrease that, whether it's paying it or going to a place like Happy Money or Meet Tally. You could do a pre-approval there and see if they will help you pay off those credit cards, right? So keep that in mind. You want to have at least two personal credit cards that are at least a $2,500 limit. Keep that in mind as well. Don't just be having authorized user trade lines as big as they could be $10,000, $15,000 cards. If it's not in your name, then it's not gonna look as good in the eyes of the lender. No negative items. And then if you do have negative items on your credit at the moment, delayed does not mean denied. You can go watch my YouTube playlist, DIY Credit University, for free DIY to help you go ahead and fix your credit. I think that playlist at the time I'm recording it has at least 50 videos in there. So, our YouTube is like a whole university in itself. All right, why would you even hire a funding company? I know some people might be like, why am I gonna hire you to go ahead and get me money when I could just go get money by myself? I mean, that's true, right? It's a good question. But you got to realize that a good funding company like us, we have relationships with business relationship managers, BRMs, to maximize your funding approvals. Take, for example, Chase Bank, right? So my guy at Chase Bank, like let's say you go and apply by yourself online. You get maybe 10 to 15K. But if you work with us, people that have relationships, you're gonna get higher approval limits. So you might get upwards of $50,000 just for working with us because we have those relationships that you may not have, right? And then you just paid a 10% fee for us helping you. So just keep that in mind. Like, just logically think. If you look at your situation as a small business owner, you're busy, you're focused on the business, you're focused on growing, starting, scaling the business. Maybe you haven't had time to build up the relationships that I've been able to build up, right? I've been doing this credit and funding since 2021. So over the years, I've built and established relationships that you may not have. So you're saving yourself time, you're saving yourself money and headaches by just like going with somebody that, has those relationships. And you're not even putting any money up front. You get your money, you get your $50,000, for example, in that Chase Bank example, and then you just pay the 10% fee, which is $5,000. So would you rather do that and maximize your funding so you can maximize your funding for the future and have more money to invest in your real estate or whatever you got going on? Or would you rather try to do it yourself and you only get limited to like 10 or 15,000? Now your whole situation is messed up from the jump. As you're trying to get more funding, you're just not going to be in a good situation. It's better to start higher and then start trying to grow your limits even higher versus you start small at just 10 to 15K and trying to grow from there. So those of y'all as business owners, you will get that. It's usually people that have like that poor mindset, that poor 9 to 5 mindset that don't see it like that, but this is why we like working with y'all, small business owners. A good funding company, they should have resources for studying the best banks to maximize funding. And like I said, you're paying to save time. I've been doing this since 2021, so keep that in mind. Bank branch locator and iBankNet are some examples. You can go ahead and use those. So bank branch locator will let you locate like any bank in all 50 states. iBankNet will give you data to let you know how much they're able to lend out. Yeah, I gave you those resources for free, but it's like, do you know how to use them to maximize? Have you been using them for years the way that I've been using them? So just keep that in mind. And then why hire a funding company as well? You're literally a busy small business owner and you're focused on running your business, right? So you're focused on that real estate deal. That's already stressful. You're focused on that e-commerce, right? That's already stressful. You're focused on, whatever you're focused on. You're focused on maybe you have a high paying 9 to 5 already. You're trying to start a business. You're focused on starting that business. So work with somebody like us that can help you make the process less stressful. All right. So how the consultation should go. So the funding company should be asking you like what you plan to do with the money. It goes back to what I said. It should not feel just transactional. So for example, when you're on a consultation with us, we're going to ask you like what you plan to do with the money so we can make sure that you're having a positive ROI. Because you got to realize like this money is not yours. You're using the money to invest to get to the next level. So for example, investing the funds in a real estate project that will yield a positive ROI faster than the 0% intro APR period is done. So let's say we got you 100,000. You liquidate that entire 100,000 in business credit cards. You go put the 100,000 in a real estate deal. Obviously, with the 1% period, your payment is only going to be $1,000 a month for that period, right? So keep that in mind. And if it's 0% interest for like 12 months, you're gonna make a positive ROI, depending on the business that you're getting into. So I just say that as an example to watch out for. If the funding company is just like, oh, we just do this, we'll get you the money. We don't even care if you default or anything. That's definitely a red flag. Funding companies should be discussing their mission statement with you. It goes back again to what I said. If they don't have a mission statement, like literally asking them, like, what's your mission? If they can't answer that or they start like stuttering, they start like remixing, you know what I'm saying? Then you know that that's a red flag. When you ask us our mission statement, it's literally right there. Our mission is to help fund $1 billion to small business owners so that we can help reduce crime rate, we can help reduce depression. People are working these 9 to 5s that they do not love. People rob people because of money. So we can position y'all to get to the next level. This credit education, this funding education, we make the world a better place. So ask this funding company that you're trying to work with, what is your mission? What's your why, right? So ours is right there. They should be educating you about liquidating the credit cards. In this example, 0% interest business credit cards. You might get lines of credit. You might get SBA loan if they even have relationships with SBA. But for example, I got a funding playlist on my YouTube channel, over 100 manufacturer spending videos on liquidating your credit cards. So proof is in the pudding, is right there. All right, the process. So this is our process. You'll basically hop on a call with me or someone on my team. We will obviously assess your situation to confirm that you do qualify. So like I said earlier, that's 700 plus. 680 is minimum. That's going to be minimum funding. Making sure you have a couple credit cards that have at least $2,500 limits. Your debt utilization rate is low, essentially. So we'll make sure you qualify. We're going to figure out how much you're actually looking to get and then making sure that it yields a positive ROI, so that's what we want to confirm. If everything checks out, obviously there has to be a contract agreement, just talks about the 10% success fee. And, we go from there. So after that, the next phase is basically the application process. And I basically do research as well as contact all my bank relationship managers to help you maximize your funding. The biggest thing, like I said, is maximizing the funding. If the funding company you're working with does not work with any bank relationship managers, that is a red flag, right? You could apply online, that's cool, but what does your bank relationship managers look like, right? Because that's going to help you maximize the funding. And then obviously, I've been doing this since 2021. So I just have certain credit knowledge as far as how to maximize your sequence. Okay, you could apply for this one that pulls Experian, this one that pulls TransUnion, this one that pulls Equifax, one of each. Okay, we could apply for this one later on because they're not as inquiry sensitive, you know. So things like that. It's just things you can't teach. It's just things that you know over time. Obviously we're gonna prioritize the BRMs, like I said, and then you could receive your funding in as quick as 14 days. With working with the BRMs, and it really depends because if you're seeking like a lot more money than somebody else, it might take us a couple rounds to go ahead and get it. So it could take anywhere from 14 to 60-day process, and just depending on every situation is different. This is just an estimate essentially. So keep that in mind. All right, if you want to work with us, like I said, fast funding, you can get your funding in as little as 14 days. So 2 weeks from, when you're watching this video, as soon as you hop on a consultation. Up to 150K in unsecured business credit cards. We just like to, it could be more obviously, but we just like to underestimate, under promise, over deliver. Half a million, I mean, I said half a million, 250,000 in terms of the business lines of credit, and then 500,000 with like SBA loans. If your funding company you're working with does not have an SBA person, to me, that's a red flag because you shouldn't just only know 0% interest business credit cards because everybody's situation is different. Some people might need SBA. And then 0% intro APR period for up to 18 months. So keep that in mind as well. Minimum 680 FICO. And then, there's a no docs program, doesn't report to personal, and it builds a business credit. So keep that in mind. So if you want to work with us or move forward, like I said, you may be watching this video because you already booked a call. But if you just want to book a call now, you could book a call below. Hopefully this video helped y'all. With that being said, y'all have a blessed one.